My wife announced, "It's your friends or me. Choose now. They're a bad influence." I said, "You're right. I need to make a choice." Then I called my friends over to help me move her belongings out. When she came home from yoga, the locks were changed and my bad influence friends were toasting on her favorite couch. Original post. I, 36 male, have been married for 4 years. Together for 6 total. And for approximately 3 of those years, my wife has been systematically trying to isolate me from every friendship I've ever had. It started small. Comments here and there after we moved in together. Do you really need to see them every single week? Or they're kind of immature for their age, don't you think? I brushed it off as her wanting more couple time. Seemed reasonable. I adjusted, made compromises, cut back on hangouts from weekly to monthly. That escalated. My best friend since college. Guy stood as my best man at our wedding, introduced me to my first real job, was there when my dad passed, suddenly became a bad influence because he likes craft beer and watches football on Sundays. According to her, that was juvenile behavior for a grown man. My childhood buddy who I've known since we were 8, immature because he plays video games occasionally and quotes movies too much. Never mind that he's a firefighter who literally saves lives. The video games were the problem, apparently. My coworker friend, who I grab lunch with twice a week, probably talks about you behind your back. Work friends aren't real friends anyway. The pattern was obvious once I stopped making excuses for her. Any friend I had, any connection outside of her approved circle, became a target. Meanwhile, her friends could come over literally any time. Her sister practically lived at our house some weekends, eating our food, using our streaming accounts, borrowing money she never paid back. But my friends? Toxic, bad influence, dragging me down. For context, my friends are completely normal guys. One's a project manager at a tech company. One's the firefighter I mentioned. One owns a small landscaping business that employs 6 people. They pay taxes. They have mortgages. They coach Little League. They're not exactly running around causing chaos. The wildest thing we do is a monthly poker night where the biggest pot is maybe $200 and everyone's home by midnight. Last Saturday morning, my wife hit me with the ultimatum. I was making coffee, minding my business, scrolling through sports scores on my phone, when she walked into the kitchen with that look. The one that means she's been rehearsing something in her head for hours, maybe days. The look that always preceded a fight she was determined to win. "We need to talk about your friends." I sighed internally. Put down my phone. What about them? I've been thinking a lot about this, really reflecting on our marriage and what needs to change. And I've decided, it's them or me. You need to choose. Right now. Today. They're a bad influence, and they're keeping you from growing as a person and as a husband. I put down my coffee mug. Let her words hang in the air for a moment. Keeping me from growing, how exactly? You spend time with them instead of focusing on us. On our future. On building something meaningful. They're holding you back from your potential. From what? We have a house. Good jobs. Stable income. What exactly am I being held back from? She crossed her arms. Shifted her weight. Classic defensive posture that she always adopted when she knew she was on thin ice. From becoming the man I need you to be. There it was. The quiet part out loud. Not the man I am. The man she needs me to be. A project. Something to mold. A block of marble she wanted to chisel into whatever shape pleased her. I looked at her for a long moment. Really looked. And I thought about the last 3 years. The canceled plans because she wasn't feeling up to having anyone over. The guilt trips that lasted weeks whenever I dared to have a beer with my buddies. The silent treatments. The tears. The accusations of not prioritizing her. The constant, exhausting, low-grade tension whenever I mentioned anyone she hadn't personally approved. "You're right," I said calmly. "I do need to make a choice." She smiled. Triumphant already. Victory in her eyes before the battle was even over. "I'm glad you finally see it my way. I knew you'd come around. So you'll call them today, and I'm choosing them." Her face froze mid-sentence. "What?" "I'm choosing my friends. The ones who've been there for 20 years. The ones who've never asked me to cut you out of my life. The ones who've actually supported our marriage, even when you've treated them like garbage. I'm choosing them. You can't be serious right now. I've never been more serious about anything. You spent 3 years systematically trying to isolate me from everyone I care about outside of you. That's not love. That's not partnership. That's control. And I'm done participating in it." She actually laughed. A sharp, incredulous sound. "You're being dramatic. This is ridiculous. You'll change your mind by tonight once you've calmed down." "I won't." "Fine. I'm going to yoga. When I get back in 2 hours, you'll have thought about this properly and realized how ridiculous you're being. And then we can have an actual adult conversation." She grabbed her yoga mat and her keys, still looking smug. Like this was just another tantrum I'd get over. Like I'd come crawling back, apologizing before she finished her sun salutations. Like every other time I'd push back and then folded. The door closed. I heard her car start, watched through the window as she pulled out of the driveway, checking her phone at the stop sign like always. Then I picked up my phone and made some calls. "Hey, you busy right now? I need help moving some stuff out of my house. Bring your truck and any boxes you have." 2 hours later, 3 of my bad influence friends were at my door. One brought his pickup truck. One brought a stack of moving boxes from his garage. One brought a 6-pack of good beer, because of course he did. "So we're really doing this?" my best friend asked, surveying the living room. "This isn't just venting. We're actually helping you in your marriage today. We're really doing this. About damn time, man. Seriously. We've been waiting years for you to wake up." That stung a little, but he wasn't wrong. And I appreciated that he'd waited for me to figure it out instead of forcing the issue. We worked efficiently. Her clothes went into boxes. Her shoes, so many shoes, went into garbage bags. Her 17 decorative throw pillows got tossed into containers. Her collection of overpriced candles that cost more than my monthly car payment went into a separate box. Everything that was clearly hers got packed up. Everything that was mine stayed. The stuff we'd bought together, I left most of it. Wedding gifts. She could have them. Wasn't trying to be petty about material possessions. Just wanted her out of my space. The couch was an interesting situation. She'd bought it with her money about 6 months before we got married. Insisted on bringing it into our home despite me having a perfectly good couch, and had declared it her favorite piece of furniture in the world approximately 9,000 times over the years. She also made it explicitly clear multiple times that if anything ever happened to our relationship, that couch was leaving with her. It was non-negotiable. Cool. Noted. Except right now, it was sitting in my living room. The living room of the house I'd owned for 2 years before we got married. The house that was never put in both our names because she didn't want the financial responsibility of being on a mortgage. Her belongings went into the garage, neatly packed, organized by category, labeled with a marker. I'm not a monster. Then I called a locksmith. $275 for new deadbolts on both doors, front and back. Guy showed up within an hour. Worth every penny. By 4 p.m., we're done. Her stuff was packed and stored. New locks installed. And my friends were sitting on her precious couch in my living room, beers in hand, game on TV. The same game she'd always made me miss because Sundays were for couple activities. "This is actually comfortable," my childhood friend said, sinking into the cushions and stretching out. I understand why she liked it so much. "Cheers to bad influences everywhere," my coworker friend said, raising his bottle toward me. We clinked, and for the first time in 3 years, I felt like I could actually breathe in my own home. Her car pulled into the driveway at 5:47 p.m. I watched through the window as she parked, gathered her yoga mat, checked her reflection in the car mirror. Watch her walk up the path, still wearing that self-satisfied expression. Watch her insert her key into the lock. Watch her try to turn it. Watch her try again. And again. The confusion on her face when she peered through the window and saw 4 men sitting on her couch, drinking beer and watching the game. Honestly priceless. The pounding started immediately. "Open this door. What is happening right now?" I walked over calmly. Opened it just enough to speak through the gap, chains still on. "Hey, how is yoga? Why doesn't my key work? Why are they in there? What is going on? You gave me a choice. I made it. Your stuff is packed in boxes in the garage. Everything's labeled. You can't do this. This is my home too. Actually, it's my home. Has been since 2019. You moved in. You never went on the deed. Remember? You didn't want the financial responsibility of home ownership." Her face cycled through confused to furious to calculating in about 3 seconds flat. I'm calling the police. Right now. Go ahead. I'll wait right here. She did. 2 officers showed up about 20 minutes later, looking tired and annoyed at being called to a domestic situation. I stepped outside to talk to them, while my friends wisely stayed inside, staying quiet. Sir, your wife says you've illegally locked her out of her residence. Officers, this is my house. I purchased it before our marriage. She's never been on the deed or the mortgage. I've paid every payment myself. We're separating, and I've asked her to leave. Her belongings are packed and waiting in the garage. She says you changed the locks while she was out. I did. It's my property. I'm legally allowed to change locks on my own home. They exchange a look. The older one sighed heavily. Ma'am, do you have any documentation showing you own or co-own this property? Are you on the title? I live here. I've lived here for 4 years. That makes it my home. But you're not on the deed? Long silence. Then, desperately, he tricked me. He deliberately kept me off the paperwork to control me. The officer turned back to me. Sir, is there any history of domestic violence here? Any physical altercations we should know about? None. 0. You can check records. I've never touched her. Never threatened her. I simply told her our marriage was over after she demanded I cut off all my friendships. The younger officer was clearly uncomfortable with the whole situation. Ma'am, this appears to be a civil matter at this point. We can't force him to let you into property that's solely in his name. You'll need to work this out through the courts and lawyers. She absolutely exploded. Called me every name imaginable. Accused me of abuse, manipulation, theft. The officers had to tell her to calm down twice before warning her about disturbing the peace. Ma'am, if you continue like this, we're going to have to ask you to leave the premises entirely. She left, peeled out of the driveway, so fast she nearly clipped my mailbox. Didn't even ask about her stuff in the garage. I thanked the officers for their professionalism. Went back inside. My friends were standing there looking both impressed and slightly nervous about what they just witnessed. That was intense, my best friend said. Yeah, it really was. You holding up okay? Not yet, but I'm going to be. We ordered pizza. Watched the rest of the game in peace. And I started mentally preparing for the war I knew was inevitably coming. Update 1. 5 days later. The response to my original post was wild. Thanks for all the support and the few reality checks. Some people said I was cold for how I handled it. Fair criticism, maybe. But after 3 years of being systematically cut off from every meaningful relationship in my life, cold was all I had left to give. Here's what's happened since Saturday. Sunday morning, 8 a.m., her mother called my phone. I made the mistake of answering because I was still half asleep and didn't check the caller ID. How dare you throw my daughter out on the street like garbage? After everything she's sacrificed for you. Ma'am, your daughter gave me an ultimatum to abandon every friendship I have. I declined that ultimatum. Those so-called friends of yours are losers. Every single one of them. She was trying to help you grow into a real man. With all due respect, I don't need to become a different person. I need a partner who accepts who I actually am. You'll regret this. She's going to take you for everything you own. The house, the money, all of it. She's welcome to try. Had a nice day. Hung up. Blocked her number immediately. Monday afternoon. Got served at work. Process server walked right into the office, asked for me by name, handed me an envelope in front of 3 coworkers. She's filing for divorce and demanding the house, half my retirement accounts, spousal support of $2,000 monthly for 5 years, and something called compensation for emotional damages caused by the marriage. My coworkers definitely noticed the process server and the envelope. Had to explain the basics to my manager. Fun times all around. I already had a lawyer lined up, called one over the weekend expecting exactly this. Paid the retainer Monday afternoon. $3,500 up front and $350 per hour after that. Divorce isn't cheap, but neither is staying in a bad marriage. My lawyer's first question, is your name the only one on the deed and mortgage? Yes, has been since I bought it. Did she contribute to mortgage payments during the marriage? No, we split responsibilities. I covered housing costs entirely. She covered utilities and groceries. Did you sign a prenuptial agreement? No, I went saying it out loud. That complicates asset division somewhat, but the house being premarital property is significant. What's her annual income? About $85,000. I make around $95,000. Similar incomes, relatively short marriage, no children, premarital property clearly documented. This isn't as bad as it could be. She's not getting the house. She might get a small percentage of appreciation during marriage, possibly very short-term transitional support, but she's not taking you to the cleaners here. Small relief, but even not the worst case was going to hurt financially. Tuesday evening, the mutual friends started reaching out, except they weren't really mutual anymore. Her best friend texted me. I heard what you did. Can't believe what kind of person you actually are. She's absolutely devastated and you don't even care. You're horrible. Didn't respond. Blocked immediately. Her sister left me a voicemail at 11 p.m. You think you're so clever, don't you? Wait until you see what we're going to do to you in court. My sister deserves every penny for putting up with your pathetic friends and your pathetic excuse for a life for 4 years. Save that voicemail. Forwarded it directly to my lawyer. She said it could be useful to establish a pattern of harassment. Wednesday evening, her father called. Different tone entirely from her mother. Son, I think there might have been some kind of misunderstanding here. My daughter says you threw her out without any warning whatsoever. That doesn't sound like you. Sir, your daughter told me to choose between her and every friend I've had for 20 years. She gave me an ultimatum, same day, no discussion. I chose not to spend the rest of my life isolated from everyone I care about. Long pause on his end. She said you were the one being controlling. I've never once asked her to stop seeing her friends. Never asked her to cut off her family. Never gave her any ultimatums about anything. I just wanted to occasionally see my buddies without being guilt-tripped about it for weeks afterward. Longer pause. I see. Well, I suppose this is between you two ultimately. I just wanted to hear your perspective. I appreciate that, sir. Genuinely. I never wanted things to end this way. He didn't say anything else. Just hung up. But I could tell from his voice that he believed me, even if admitting it would mean accepting something about his daughter. Thursday afternoon, she finally came to retrieve her belongings from the garage. I wasn't there, intentionally, per my lawyer's strong advice. My best friend agreed to be present to let her access the garage only. According to him, she showed up with her sister in a rented moving truck around 2 p.m. Spent 3 solid hours loudly complaining about how she'd been wronged and abused and thrown away while loading boxes. Kept demanding to go inside the house to check for things he might have missed. He refused every time. She called him a worthless enabler and just as pathetic as his friend. She also took the couch from the living room, walked right in through the garage door, through the house, and hauled it out with her sister's help. Technically theft, since it was inside my locked home, and I hadn't agreed to let them inside. But honestly, I didn't even care. She wanted that couch so desperately, she could have it. One less thing to fight about in court later. But then came her parting gift. She left me a handwritten note on my kitchen counter. She must have written it while inside grabbing the couch. You think you've won something here? You've lost everything that actually matters. I made you into someone worthwhile, and this is how you repay me. Those pathetic friends of yours will abandon you the second things get even slightly difficult. And when you come crawling back begging for another chance, I won't be there anymore. Enjoy your empty, pathetic life with your loser buddies. You absolutely deserve each other. Photographed it immediately, sent it to my lawyer, added it to the growing evidence file. Friday, the financial games officially began. She'd been listed on my primary credit card as an authorized user for years. In the chaos of everything, I'd completely forgotten to remove her access. She ran up $2,400 in charges in just 2 days. Spa treatments, a designer purse from Nordstrom, an expensive dinner at a steakhouse for 4 people, so clearly entertaining her support squad on my dime. Called the credit card company immediately. Removed her as authorized user. Disputed every charge as fraudulent since we were legally separated and she had no authorization to use my accounts. They flagged the account, launched an investigation. She's going to have to explain to somebody why she was revenge shopping on my card after leaving. My lawyer says this pattern of behavior actually hurts her case significantly. Vindictive spending during separation doesn't look good to judges. Update 2, 3 weeks later. The legal battle has officially begun in earnest, and the entitlement levels from her side have reached genuinely impressive heights. Her lawyer sent over the initial settlement demands. She wants the house that I bought and paid for before we ever met. 50% of my 401k, currently around $180,000. Spousal support of $2,000 per month for 5 years, $120,000 total. All her legal fees paid by me. All the furniture, most of which I purchased. A written acknowledgement that I was emotionally abusive during the marriage. That last demand made my lawyer actually laugh out loud reading it. She wants you to admit to abuse? In a legal document? What's the strategic purpose of that? I think she wants to feel like she won the narrative, I said. Well, she's not getting any of this. The house is premarital property, clearly documented. 4-year marriage with similar incomes means extended spousal support isn't realistic whatsoever. And requesting an abuse acknowledgement with zero documentation, zero police reports, zero evidence of any kind is pure fantasy. Our counteroffer was simple and fair. She gets her personal belongings. She receives 20% of the home's appreciation during our marriage, roughly $15,000. We each keep our own retirement accounts untouched. No spousal support. Clean break, everyone moves on. Her lawyer rejected it within 24 hours. Apparently, she found the offer insulting and degrading. Fine. We'll let a judge decide then. Meanwhile, the personal attacks outside of court continued escalating. Her mother physically showed up at my workplace 2 weeks ago, just walked into the building, past the front desk while they were distracted, and started asking people on my floor where I sat. Security had to come up and escort her out. The whole way down, she was yelling about how I was a monster and destroyed her little girl's life and would burn for this. Super professional. My manager was definitely not thrilled about the spectacle. Luckily, I'd given HR a detailed heads-up about the divorce situation beforehand. They documented the entire incident and said they'd consider a trespass notice if it happened again. They also told me to keep them fully informed if anything else occurred. Then her sister apparently decided to get creative. She somehow got my parents' phone number and called them directly. Told my mother that I'd been cheating for years with multiple women, and that was the real reason the marriage ended. Said I was a serial cheater who finally got caught. My mom called me that night, crying, asking if any of it was true. I had to explain the whole situation from the beginning, the ultimatum, the isolation attempts, the 3 years of control. My parents were completely supportive once they understood the real story. But the fact that her family was actively spreading lies to my own family, that cut somewhere deep. Then came the absolute masterpiece of entitlement. She somehow found out about our monthly poker night. The same poker night I'd been systematically guilt out of attending for again after she was gone. And she showed up. Just appeared at my buddy's house around 9 p.m. last Saturday. Knocked on the door. My firefighter friend answered it and immediately tried to close it when he saw her face. I need to talk to my husband. Right now. Lady, he doesn't want to talk to you. And he's not your husband anymore. We're still legally married until the divorce is final. You can't keep me from him. Let me inside. This is my house. My property. You're absolutely not coming in. She actually tried to physically push past him. Terrible idea. He's a firefighter who trains constantly. She's 5 feet 4 inches and 130 pounds. The physics didn't work out. He just stood there like a concrete wall while she exhausted herself trying to move him. Eventually, I came to the door because the commotion wasn't stopping. What do you want? I want you to actually talk to me. Face to face. Like a grown adult. You owe me that much after 4 years. I don't owe you anything. Especially not after you showed up at my workplace and had your sister tell my parents I was cheating. I never. She stopped mid-sentence. Caught in the lie. Yeah, my mom called me crying because of what your sister said. Really nice touch involving my elderly parents in your lies. Her face hardened. The mask slipped completely. You're making this so much harder and more expensive than it needs to be. If you would just give me what I'm rightfully owed. What you're rightfully owed. You're owed your personal belongings and a divorce decree. That's it. You don't get my house because you spent 4 years trying to control every aspect of my social life. You don't get my retirement because you gave me an ultimatum and lost the gamble. You don't get monthly spousal support because you make almost as much money as I do. I sacrificed everything for this marriage. What exactly did you sacrifice? Name one single thing. Silence. Because there was nothing. She hadn't given up her friends. Her family was at our house constantly. She maintained every single relationship she wanted to maintain. The only sacrifice was that she hadn't succeeded in isolating me completely from everyone. That's what I thought. Please leave now. And if you ever show up here again, or at my work, or contact my family with lies, I'm filing for a restraining order immediately. My lawyers already drafted the paperwork, and it's ready to file. She left, but not before screaming across the lawn that I'd regret this decision for the rest of my miserable life. Maybe, but I genuinely doubt it. Final update, 7 weeks later. The divorce was finalized last week. Took longer than anyone expected because she kept rejecting every reasonable settlement, absolutely convinced she'd somehow get more if we went before a judge. She was wrong. Here's what actually happened in court. Her lawyer presented their narrative. Long-suffering wife married to emotionally distant, cold husband who prioritized his friendships over his marriage and family. She was simply trying to help him become his best self, and he cruelly abandoned her without warning. My lawyer presented our documented reality. Wife systematically attempted to isolate husband from all external relationships over a 3-year period. When finally confronted with an ultimatum demanding he abandon every lifelong friendship, husband chose to end the marriage instead. Wife then engaged in an escalating pattern of harassment, including appearing at husband's workplace, making provably false accusations to his family members, unauthorized use of his credit card after separation, and appearing uninvited at a private residence to confront him. We had documentation for everything. The text messages where she repeatedly criticized my friends. The voicemail from her sister explicitly threatening me. The handwritten note calling my friends losers. The credit card statements showing post-separation spending. The security incident report from my employer. A written statement from my friend about her appearance at poker night. Her documentation. Vague claims of emotional abuse with zero evidence. 0 incidents ever reported to anyone. 0 witnesses. 0 medical records. 0 police reports. Nothing except her word against documented facts. The judge was clearly not impressed with her case. Final ruling. The house remains entirely mine, premarital property, never commingled. She receives 25% of the home's appreciation during our marriage, $18,750. Honestly fair. I can accept that. All retirement accounts stay completely separate. We each keep what we earned. 0 spousal support. Similar incomes, short marriage, no children, no evidence of any career sacrifice on her part. She's solely responsible for the $2,400 in credit card charges she accumulated after separation. Legal fees. Each party covers their own costs. She was visibly furious during the ruling. Tried to object multiple times to various points. The judge had to warn her about contempt of court. After it was all done, I walked out of the courthouse and just stood there on the steps for a while. For years of marriage. 6 years together total. Done. Over. A signature on paperwork. My best friend was waiting in the parking lot, leaning against his truck. How'd it go in there? I'm officially divorced. She got about $19,000 from appreciation. I kept everything else. That's basically a win. Doesn't really feel like winning. And it didn't. Even when someone clearly wrongs you, ending a marriage isn't a victory parade. It's a failure. Just a necessary one. Beer. Yeah, definitely beer. We went to the same dive bar we've been going to since college. The one she'd complained about probably 100 times over the years. Too loud. Too dirty. Full of people going nowhere in life. Walking through that door felt like coming home to myself. The aftermath is still unfolding slowly. Her family hasn't completely stopped the harassment, though it's finally slowing down significantly. Her mother sent me an actual physical letter last week. Handwritten, for pages calling me the worst mistake her daughter ever made and a man without honor. I didn't respond, just filed it away with everything else in case I ever need it for documentation. She's apparently telling anyone who'll listen that the judge was obviously biased and that I manipulated the entire legal system against her. Whatever narrative helps her sleep at night. My friends have been absolutely incredible through this entire nightmare, showing up whenever I needed them without being asked. Not once saying, "I told you so," even though they easily could have. Repeatedly reminding me that healthy relationships don't require you to abandon every other person in your life. The house feels different now, emptier in square footage terms, but lighter somehow. I bought a new couch, nothing fancy, just comfortable. Put back up some photographs I'd taken down because she didn't like them. Rearranged the furniture the way I actually want it arranged. Last weekend, poker night was at my place for the first time in 4 years. 7 guys around my dining room table, chips and cards, and way too much delivery pizza, and plenty of beer. It was loud and messy and went too late, and it was absolutely perfect. Around midnight, my best friend raised his bottle toward me from across the table. To bad influences everywhere. Everyone clinked together. To bad influences. Some people will try to make you smaller, try to cut away everything and everyone that makes you who you actually are until you fit neatly into whatever shape they've decided they want. And they'll call it love. Call it helping you grow. Give you ultimatums dressed up as concern for your well-being. Don't fall for it. The people who actually love you want you to have a full, complete life. Real friendships, genuine hobbies, meaningful connections outside the relationship. They don't try to systematically burn everything else down until they're the only thing remaining. She wanted me to choose, so I finally did. And I'd make the same choice again tomorrow.